Gender norms in America during the 1950s revolve around men maintaining a dominant position over women. Men's dominance is demonstrated through their employment position, family dynamic, and how media of the time portrayed them. Men were expected to be the breadwinners in the family, while women took care of the family as a means of supporting their husband. Men held more renowned positions at work, and although women were starting to enter the workforce, their roles were limited primarily to supportive roles in order to maintain the social construct of men being in a position of power over women. The media enforced these norms by reiterating them through television, establishing men as main characters and women as supporting characters. Televisions became more common in middle-class homes, leading to televisions becoming the primary format of media. In other words, TV killed the radio star. TV in the 50s reinforced social norms directly and indirectly. TV indirectly reinforced gender norms by depicting the nuclear family and placing men in the protagonist roles and having women play supportive characters. Commercials that were shown during the day were targeted towards women, making the assumptions that women would be the ones home while men were at work. TV directly reinforced gender norms by how older actors and actresses were employed. Older men had no issues getting employed, while older women were discriminated and replaced by attractive younger women. The norms discussed were norms primarily of the Caucasian population at the time, and there were different social dynamics for African Americans. For instance, women were typically the head of the household, taking a bigger role when it came to decision making and were often the primary breadwinners. African Americans of the time primarily lived in poverty, which in fact limits their access to education, which in turn limits their employment options, which further progresses the economic divide between the African American men and Caucasian men. African American women, on the other hand, prospered in careers like being a maid or a nanny, and typically made more money than the Caucasian women at the time. The difference in the gender norms doesn't necessarily come from a misunderstanding of the norms, but rather the socioeconomic situation of the time, developing different norms for these different groups. African American women were able to excel under these conditions, while African American men experienced a significant financial divide to Caucasian men. The divide between these two social groups revolved around employment options being limited by education. In order to move towards a simulation of the two norms, African Americans would need to receive more adequate education,